That they learnt the lesson in Ireland last year, the Danes, and obviously they're fishing a lot better now. Well done.
We'll have to find out how they do in our final, and what an interesting final that's going to be. 5 Irish anglers competed in this tournament. 4 have qualified for places in our final.
We've got an Englishman in.
1 out of 10.
Well, we've got another one in, don't we, as best runner-up, Ian Heaps.
That's right. And there'll be a second Dutchman competing as well as the best runner-up for the continental sides.
That's Core Arts.
That's Core Arts, and that is going to be a terrific final. So join us, come fishing with the best of Europe on Hooked International.
And next week's Hooked International brings you the final of the course angling match. Over on One now, there's more spooning and ogling with Jacko the Painter in brush strokes, and that's except for viewers in Scotland. Here on Two, we're taking to the road, trying out some of the latest conveyances in top gear.
In tonight's Top Gear, we run Italy's new Maserati bi-turbo Spider against the British Lotus Esprit Turbo HC. Britain's green lanes and the conflict between ramblers and riders and those who want to take their bikes and cars off the road. What does the market have to offer in motor caravans? And finally, how building and racing go-karts is teaching school children about design and engineering, as well as giving them a lot of fun. But we're starting the programme tonight here in Italy, in fact, in these beautiful mountains just above Turin. Turin, of course, is Fiat City, and we're here for this car, a Uno, standard in every respect, but for the fact that it's got an automatic transmission. Meanwhile, back in England on this very day, the Ford Fiesta 1.1 goes on sale, also with an automatic. And a few weeks ago, Subaru came out with the diminutive Justy, a 1-litre car, and that also had an automatic transmission. So what's all the fuss about, you might ask? What's so special about this automatic? Well, it's a good question because, of course, automatic systems have been around for donkey's years. But, and it's a very big but, all the refinements that have taken place in automatic transmissions over the past 40 years or so have really been aimed at the larger car, 2 litres and above, because they have a certain amount of power and a certain amount of room in the engine compartment to spare. If you fit a conventional automatic system to a smaller car, there's a big penalty in terms of power loss and extra fuel consumption, quite apart from the problems of fitting the contraption under the bonnet. Now that's the problem that Ford and Fiat have now cracked, and they've done so by developing a system originally created by little DAF in Holland. The DAF used a pair of rubber belts to transmit the power from the engine to the road wheels, with all sorts of limitations and problems of reliability. The new system is quite different. Very different, but it goes by the same name of CVT, or continuously variable transmission. Now that's quite a mouthful. Basically what it means is that instead of having a limited number of step-up gear changes, normally 1, 2, 3 in a conventional automatic gearbox, you have an unlimited number of gear changes, a constantly varying ratio between the speed of the engine and the speed of the road wheels, depending upon the load on the engine. How does it work? Well, it dispenses with all those interlocking cogs that lie at the heart of any conventional gearbox, automatic or manual, so it's very compact. In their place, you've got 2 shallow cone-shaped pulleys, one taking power from the engine, one feeding that power into the drive wheels, connected by a very tough steel belt. And remarkably, it's a pusher belt, not a puller, so it takes the power from the engine and pushes it into the drive wheels. It's made by Van Doorn in Holland, and getting it right is one of the reasons why this system took 14 years to develop. You get the constantly varying ratio because the belt slides up and down these 2 cone-shaped pulleys, governed by a hydraulic brain that takes into account 3 factors: engine speed, road speed, and the load on the engine given by the throttle position. Basically, that's it. Its virtue is that it's claimed to bring the joys of automatic motoring to the small car without any significant penalty. Well, let's see. Well, as far as the drive is concerned, you don't do anything differently from the way you'd handle a conventional automatic. So you switch on, select D on the automatic slide, and there's a slight but noticeable lurch as the car pulls away. Then as you put your foot down, the revs build up quite rapidly to about 4,000, while the car accelerates to what, 25 to 30 miles an hour. From then on, the revs stay really quite constant between about 4 and 5,000, while the car speed builds up towards 70 miles an hour. Top speed is about the mid-80s. Now what's happening is that the hydraulic brain that controls the system is always working out the most efficient ratio, taking into account engine speed, road speed, and the load on the car given by the throttle position. In effect, it's constantly trying to change up. Now, it does so very smoothly indeed, right through the range, but you do feel a noticeable drop-off in acceleration. So, if you're on a steep hill like this one, or say diving down country lanes, and you want to keep up that accelerating power, then you select L on the gear slide. That stops the gear from changing up and holds the revs at around about 3,500. So you maintain that power on the bend, for example, or if you're really trying to push the car along. The same way if you're going downhill, that L gives you more engine braking. As far as kickdown's concerned, well, when you ram your foot to the floor, it does accelerate away, but really not very fast at all. But that was all in forward gear. We did come across one problem in reverse, namely both the Fiat cars we had under test seemed reluctant to go up fairly steep hills. Fiat could offer no reasonable explanation. Ford said these cars should do everything a manual car should do, so we leave that little question mark, perhaps. But do these cars pass the acid test, namely an automatic gearbox that carries no significant penalty? It's probably too early to tell. Both Ford and Fiat claim that these cars have almost exactly the same fuel consumption, acceleration and top speed as a 5-speed manual gearbox. In fact, they claim these cars should be more economical in normal operation than a manual. If that's so, then perhaps CVT is what they say it is, the transmission of the future. Turin City at the height of the rush hour with all that familiar noise and stink and confusion. But cars, of course, aren't just about traffic jams. They're also about getting away to the peace and quiet of the countryside. So it can be more than annoying if you get to your particular bit of peace and quiet to find it shuttered by some trail biker or off-road specialist. Great sports, perhaps, but not necessarily the sort of thing you want beside your family picnic or chasing you down some country path. Hence the growing conflict over the use of those ancient rights in the countryside, the green lanes, between two groups of people, the ramblers on the one side, the bikers and four-wheel drivers on the other. Chris Goffey has been listening to both sides.
This is the oldest road in Europe. It's the Ridgeway, the path that follows the top of the Chalk Downs from Swindon to Dunstable right across southern England. But today the peace and tranquility of this ancient road is being shattered by controversy over who should be allowed to use it. Should motorcyclists and four-wheel drive enthusiasts be allowed on the Ridgeway, or should it be reserved for walkers and horse riders? It's an argument that's been around for years, but proposed new traffic orders from the Countryside Commission have brought matters to a head, and all the interested parties are anxious to get their views over before any changes are made.
Our problem is that we have, in Great Britain, I think the figure's about 120,000 miles of unsurfaced rights-of-way. That's footpaths, bridleways, and what this is, which is a road used as a public path. Of those 120,000 miles, we actually have vehicular rights over somewhere about 4,000 miles of them. That's the only amount that we can actually use. With the increasing pressure on the countryside, with other amenity groups, farmers, etc., we do find that a lot of these RUPPs, roads used as a public path, are being downgraded to perhaps bridleways or even footpaths, which means we can't use them anymore.
The Ramblers Association is appalled that selfish and thoughtless drivers of motorcycles and four-wheel drive cars can chop and churn up the surface of such marvellous routes as the Ridgeway and disturb people's quiet recreations. We have lots of people writing in and phoning in saying they've met a horde of motorcyclists in the country on a quiet day in the summer. What can they do about it?
So why do motorcyclists like riding the Ridgeway so much?
It's seen as the best green road in England. It's very long. There's 40 miles of vehicular rights over it. People come from a long way away to walk it, horse ride, cycle, motorcycle. I've come from Newcastle upon Tyne, 300 miles before now to ride on it. It's so attractive. The downland is a beautiful place to be. 3 or 4 years ago, the motoring organisations and the Countryside Commission agreed a voluntary code of conduct whereby people kept off the Ridgeway on summer Sundays and summer bank holidays, when obviously it's popular with walkers. Common sense for everybody. The trail riding groups and the all-wheel drive people have codes whereby they only travel in small groups when they're out on green lanes, 3, 4, maybe half a dozen at the very most motorcycles, and they keep down to low speeds, no more than 25 miles an hour, very slow when they're passing walkers, stop, switch off engines when they're passing horses, generally behave like any normal civilised person.
So if the bikers are such a responsible lot, who's causing ruts like these? The bikers claim they don't.
I know we don't. The surface of the Ridgeway is damaged from time to time by agricultural vehicles, but then agricultural vehicles have a right to be on it. Another point I'd like to make is that this is a road, and if it is damaged, then someone should put it right.
So who is that someone who should be maintaining the surface?
It's partly the Highway Authority and partly the landowner, because the Ridgeway is privately owned. We must remember this. The farmers own it, and there's a public right-of-way across it. So the farmers are basically responsible for overhanging vegetation, and the Highway Authority for vegetation growing up from the surface.
But if the vehicles are kept off, there's little doubt with spending restrictions that the paths will get hopelessly overgrown, not just for walkers, but for horse riders too.
What we do object to is people who misuse them at the wrong time when the weather is not suitable, and therefore they churn the whole thing up for everybody. A four-wheel drive tractor or four-wheel vehicle that isn't driven by somebody experienced will get stuck and will churn up ruts that get deeper and deeper and deeper, and then that is very uncomfortable for everybody concerned.
There's a sign here that says no wheeled vehicles. Does that mean pony traps?
If it is, I think it's a disaster. It should be no motorised wheel traffic, if anything, because we certainly do drive on great stretches of the Ridgeway.
The Countryside Commission has asked the Secretary of State to make an order keeping vehicles off the Ridgeway on summer Sundays and bank holidays. But the Department of Transport has asked for more information before they take action. So this summer, all eyes will be on the Ridgeway.
If you ban access, the only people you will stop are the reasonable people who will obey the law anyway. The hooligans will still come. You can't close this road. I hope that they will see sense and that the Secretary of State will tell them to come back and talk to us. We're ready to talk. The county councils prefer negotiation. The Ridgeway officers prefer negotiation. It seems a great pity to force a virtually unworkable law on people who have tried their hardest to fulfil the requirements of the Countryside Commission in the first place.
Now, caravans, in fact there aren't many caravans in Italy, but when you realise how mountainous the entire country is, it's easy to understand perhaps why towing holiday homes around hairpin bends like this isn't a popular pastime either for Italians or tourists alike. But what about getting around the towing problem with a motor caravan? Frank Page has been looking at what the latest motor caravans have to offer, and he started his journey at the Bewley Motor Museum.
Here we are at the National Motor Museum, the home of all that's most significant in the evolving story of the motor vehicle. And today, a new piece of motoring history is being made here. How many of you have fond memories of the early motor caravans of the 50s and 60s? Well, now the motor caravan has been accepted into the story of automobile development, and this lovely 1964 van, based on a Commer chassis, has been added to the collection here at Bewley. As you can see, it's in remarkable condition for a vehicle that's 23 years old and has covered a lot of miles. First glance, it looks a bit like a modern motor caravan with its sink, cooker and fridge, collapsing table, copious storage space. Indeed, in its time, it was very good value for the £1,200 it cost in the 60s. But since those days, there have been a lot of improvements made, and if you're one of the 3,000 or so people intent on buying a motor caravan in 1987, you'll be very interested in the 5 modern examples that we've brought down to Bewley to have a look at. This is the Villa 3, an elevating roof motor caravan built by Richard Holdsworth on the Volkswagen Transporter. It sleeps 2 adults and 2 children, powered by a 1.9-litre 78 bhp engine with 4-speed gearbox. Fuel economy around 26 to the gallon, price on the road £13,700. Strong points about the Villa are the way the elevating roof goes up on gas struts and this rock and roll seat to make the bed. You just pick it up like that, and there's your bed made. When you want it back up as a seat, it's as easy as that. The other thing I like are these aircraft-style lights over the bedding area too, so you can read at night without distracting anybody else. Sink, cooker and fridge units are down the off side of the vehicle, and I like the way these tops fix in this position. Take a splash guard there and it holds the top up and stops the splashes. Behind that you've got louvered windows which are very good for ventilation but maybe not always as warm as some other kind. For eating inside the villa you can turn the passenger seat round, which is very handy. The driver's seat is normally fixed because otherwise it would foul the handbrake, but you can have a swivelling seat as an optional extra, as long as you remember to leave the van in gear while you're eating. The Flare is a high-top motor caravan built by Auto Sleeper on the Ford Transit. A four-berther, it realistically takes 2 adults and 2 children. Power from a 2-litre 78 bhp engine, 5-speed gearbox, returning about 25 miles to the gallon. On the road price is £13,550. At the back end of the Flare there's plenty of electrical equipment. You've got hot water on tap, warm blown air heating, an extractor fan for the stove, very useful that, and a gauge that shows you how much water there is left in your tank. I like this blind that you can use to shut off the back end of the van too. That's so useful when you're quick changing or perhaps rubbing down after a swim and you don't want to draw the curtains all the way round. Good storage space in this van, and I particularly like this cocktail cabinet. Nice to have the drinks handy there. Just a couple of criticisms though. I don't think the working surface here around the stove is really enough for the cook working in the galley, and I do think the fittings on this roof hatch are a bit flimsy. They rather let down the standard of the whole van. At the front, the driver and passenger seats can be swiveled round to make a cosy dining setup. Then when it's time for bed, you can draw the curtains, flatten the seats out and make 2 single beds. Our coach-built motor caravan is the Bambi, built by Auto Homes on the Bedford Rascal. It sleeps 2 adults and a child and is powered by a 1-litre 44 bhp engine with 5-speed gearbox. MPG up to 35, on the road price £8,200. Being a coach-built van, there's more room inside this Bambi than you might expect, and that's helped by these large area double-glazed windows, which will open right up. Good points about this one: a nice compact galley area with a stove and sink set in there, and a footwell so that you can stand and work in comfort. Stable door at the back end, nice touch, and a little wide-angle lens set into the rear window so that you can see when you're reversing the thing. Good storage space underneath these benches here. There's even room, would you believe, for a portable loo. Minus marks, well, I don't think there's quite enough surface area around the galley, and the wiring inside the lockers up there looks a little bit tatty to me. But one advantage of having the 2 single beds always there as bench seats is if you do want to sleep in the afternoon, you don't have to make up a bed. You just stretch out and relax. The smallest of our lineup is the Danbury Renegade, also built on the Bedford Rascal. It's similar mechanically to the Bambi, and it does about 35 miles to the gallon. Price is £8,700. Considering its minimal overall size, the Renegade is really a marvel of compact design and convenience. It's got 6 full seats, so you can use it, for example, for taking the kids to school, especially as you've got opening doors both sides, so you can let them out away from the traffic. It's an ordinary runabout you can use for shopping. It'll fit your ordinary garage, go in a multi-storey car park, any of that. But then, as a motor caravan, you've got all sorts of extra features. You've got an elevating roof here, which gives you much more light and space and air. Lots of storage features, even a loo under here. But this is the heart of the matter. This is the galley. Here's the stove. That's the sink. Water supply in there. It's all very clever. If none of these British motor caravans is big enough for you, how about this American Winnebago Chieftain? 30 foot long, powered by a huge 7.4-litre engine. It's left-hand drive only, it sleeps 8, but it's not cheap to run. 11 miles to the gallon. Let me give you the guided tour to this fully air-conditioned mobile home. It starts with a full double bedroom at the back that you can curtain off for privacy, complete with its own shower unit, basin, even a flush loo, would you believe? Lots of storage space, of course, solid timber fittings, no worry about the weight on a vehicle this size. A large fridge and freezer, 4-burner stove, microwave oven, extractor fan, double drainer sink, every modern convenience. Lots of room at the dining table for 4 people to sit down, and in front of that, a big lounge area, come office, all trimmed with velour and deep pile carpets, every luxury. The only trouble is, of course, it all adds up to a lot of money, £39,000 to be exact. So if I'm going to afford one of these, I'd better get some work done.
Now, for any motoring enthusiast, the name Maserati is synonymous with high performance and classic Italian styling. Over the past few years, unfortunately, the name has become somewhat tarnished, but now there's a new Maserati to carry that famous trident symbol. We decided to test the Spider version, the open-top version, against a British sports car of similar price and performance, the Lotus Esprit Turbo, now with a new high-compression engine. Sue Baker was in the driving seat.
The very first thing you notice about driving the Maserati is that wonderful growly engine sound. It really is a beautiful noise to be driving behind. It's a lovely interior to be sitting in as well, this tan leather with suede set into it, with the briar wood on the dashboard, lovely little details like the Maserati name set into it in marquetry and that classy little clock. Very clear instrument layout with those nice dials, 7 of them sitting there. The gearbox is excellent, a really sweet change. Slightly unusual layout with a dog leg first and then the other ratios grouped together. It does mean that the 5th to 4th change, which is the one you most commonly want for overtaking, is very convenient. A couple of little faults. I think it's very strange the car in this price range doesn't have a standard radio, and the 2 door mirrors are very difficult to see into. The glass area is too small. But those details apart, I think it's a glorious car to drive. The heart of the Maserati is a lusty twin-turbocharged engine, hence the name bi-turbo. It's a 2.5-litre, 6-cylinder, 18-valve motor, and its potential top speed is around 135 miles an hour. More important, though, to owners in this country will be the very lively acceleration. It's around 6.5 seconds from stationary to 60 miles an hour. Fuel consumption, though, is rather on the heavy side. You don't necessarily expect high-performance cars like these to be practical, but in fact this one is. It has a really good-sized boot back here, room for 2 average-sized family suitcases, a lot of other oddments besides, and there's room for more luggage behind the front seats, because although it looks like a 2+2, it isn't, so you can get a big suitcase in there. And that, of course, is because the engine is here at the front. It's a very squashed engine compartment, not much room in there, but the sort of people who buy these cars don't want to do their own maintenance anyway. But that's where the Lotus differs. It has its engine at the back. There it is, even more squashed in space than in the Maserati, and it leaves a tiny amount of room behind it for luggage. You can get 1 small squashy suitcase in there and not a lot else. In fact, it's about half the boot space of the Maserati. A few more oddments can fit in the front, but it's only a pure 2-seater. The essence of this car, though, is all about performance. It's a very quick car, this Turbo Lotus, and it feels it, especially in the vivid acceleration, which seems to shove you in the back, with a 0 to 60 time of 5.5 seconds. The top speed is more than double the legal limit. This new higher compression Lotus's power output is 215 brake horsepower, which is a really big belt of power from a 2.2-litre 4-cylinder engine. It's a little less thirsty than the Maserati, and it comes with a 2-year warranty against the bi-turbo's 1 year. Inside the Lotus, it feels a bit as if you're in a racing car cockpit. It's quite claustrophobic, everything's hugging in around you, the controls are all wrapped around in front, and you sit very low on the road. Other traffic all seems higher up. The view through the rear mirror is really very poor. You can't see a lot, and although there's oceans of beautiful leather in this car, it's £1,000 extra on the price. Natural location for cars like these is a Riviera yacht basin. Well, this is the sort of setting where they might find themselves in Britain. They're both very glamorous cars, but very different in character. The Lotus is the more macho machine with superb supercar handling. The Maserati has very similar performance, but a more versatile feeling car. And I think it's a very worthy machine to bring back the famous Maserati name to Britain. To sum up, the Maserati bi-turbo Spider has a 2.5-litre engine. Its insurance group is 9, and the price, £28,795. The Lotus Esprit Turbo HC has a 2.2-litre engine, its insurance group is also 9, and the price is £25,980, but the extras on our test car would add another £2,000 to that.
Right, from the sheer class and thrill of Maserati and Lotus, let's move now to a rather more humble, but in its way no less thrilling form of motion, the go-kart. Castrol is sponsoring a competition for children to design and build and race their own go-karts, not just for educational purposes, but for a lot of fun as well. Chris Goffrey reports.
And fun really is the key to schools karting. Here at Breeze Hill School near Oldham, they've created one of the top karting teams in the National Schools Karting Association. You can get very serious about the skill and experience that building karts teaches kids for future adult life. But the key element is the fun and satisfaction everyone gets out of it. What does schools karting do for the kids, do you think?
Well, it's twofold. One, it teaches the children vast amounts of skills. And secondly, it gives them driving skills which will hold good throughout their life. I would like to suggest that in a kart it covers every single skill that is available in a school workshop. The children will bend, saw, weld, cast, fiberglass, machine, fit, the whole gambit.
So everything in that kart, you know, the kids have worked on?
Oh yes, yes. We build the entire kart.
It looks very professional, but I mean, is it very expensive?
It could be if we were obliged to buy things new. In actual practice, virtually everything that's on this kart has been obtained second hand. I think we worked it out that it would cost us less than £50 to build the whole kart.
And does it help them to get a job when they leave school?
Oh yes, we've got a very good track record of putting lads into jobs, especially into jobs in mechanicking, garages, and indeed into engineering, because the lads pick up a lot of additional skills that normally they wouldn't obtain in the workshop in normal lesson time.
There's another project going on in your other classroom to design a kart. Tell us what that is all about.
Yes, this is part of a competition to design and build a racing kart. The design that we're making is a fully fledged racing kart which will have a totally enclosed body on it. We've got a centrally mounted 125cc water-cooled engine, and we hope that by the time we've finished it we will be capable of something like 120 miles an hour.
How do you go about testing the karts when you've made them in the workshops?
Well, we transfer them out into the school playground. It's a little restricted. We would like something bigger, but it's all we've got, so we take them out there. We use it for testing, and we also use it for teaching our beginners before we take them away to the track.
You're very successful, aren't you? How did you learn to drive the kart in the first place?
Well, I came with my dad to meetings when I was younger, and then I started to drive when I came to this school in the yard, and I've just gone to meetings ever since and got experience.
So, I mean, driving around the yard here, you can get enough sort of experience for how to actually drive the kart?
Well, you get a lot of courage and confidence into driving.
How fast does this kart go?
About 50, 60.
You get frightened?
No?
60 miles an hour, you're what, about an inch off the ground?
Yeah.
I mean, the sensation must be tremendous. As a very successful kart driver now, are you going to go on into karts in the future?
If I can get the right backing, I will. If I can get somebody to sponsor me, hopefully I can carry on.
And would you like to go beyond that into motor racing?
Yeah, so I'd like to finally become a Formula 1 driver.
And Jason looks as though he's well on his way to achieving that career goal. After a spectacular season fighting off challenges from schools all over the country, he's just won the series championship. Other Breeze Hill pupils did well in their races this season too, against teams with much better funding and support. Despite the speed and the closeness of the racing, the schools have an unblemished safety record at their meetings. Currently, there's plenty of room for more schools and teams to join the championship. Kart racing calls for lots of dedication from teachers, pupils and parents. But in terms of fun and satisfaction for everyone involved, the results seem well worth it.
Well, that's all from Italy for this week. Next week, Frank Page looks at the latest from Rolls-Royce. Chris Goffey takes a critical look at the new highway code and asks how realistic it is as a guide to everyday motoring. And Sue Baker celebrates the 40th anniversary of one of the famous names from Britain's motoring past, Jowett. So see you then. Until then, drive safely. Good night.
Over on One Now, the great event is imminent in the last of our late expectations, and that's except for viewers in Scotland. In half an hour here on 2, Something About Amelia tells the tragic story of a young girl caught up in an incestuous relationship with her father.
And if there was something that you wanted to talk about, I mean something you felt that you couldn't handle yourself.
No one could like you better than I do, Princess.
I'd certainly want to help you out.
That is if he could do anything about it.
Mrs. Bennett, there's something you have to understand.
I want you to go now.
Whether you believe Amelia or not, it has got to be reported. You see, it is the law.
She's lying. It's impossible for this to be true.
If she's making it up, we'll find that out when we investigate. That's all we have here, a charge.
Will you please tell me what you're talking about?
Amelia, you haven't committed any crime. Try to remember that.
No access means no access.
You mean I am not allowed to speak with my own child? I am her father.
Now you're getting the point.
Adele! Adele! Will you turn me over, love, please?
That cry for help was from a woman who's severely disabled and who, even at night, can't cope without the care of her young daughter. Tonight, Brass Tacks enters the so far unexplored world of child carers, youngsters who devote much of their free time helping parents who can't help themselves. For many of them,